It's kind of like Rock and Roll Cheers, but we added live music about 13 years ago. For the first 7 years, we had, we had parties with live music, but it wasn't part of the program. And then slowly but surely, we felt that, that was the thing to do, and that, all the people who worked here were either in bands or working for video production companies or, writing songs. And so we became more and more woven with live music, and that's the way we are now, between 5 and 7 nights a week.
When you were opening the bar, like you said, it's gone through a couple evolutions.
Yeah, not physically. I mean, it always looked like a post-apocalyptic junkyard, but, with Christmas lights year-round in case anyone's interested.
Do you not have the sign outside on purpose?
Absolutely. And that comes from, when the Bovine was opening, Wes and Chris and I were spending a little time in New York and other cities, and we were also running a big dance club somewhere else in the city called 23 Hop. It was more DJ driven. And when we were in older cities like New York or Chicago, we noticed that people didn't take down the old signs or didn't put signs up at all. And we felt that we've made enough of a statement outside, which we did, because it's probably one of the most photographed spots on Queen Street, day or night. And, that it wasn't really necessary. So it was definitely intentional. And sometimes we get flack from the city, and, because it's not really a sign. It's really a big sculpture outside. And sometimes they get mad because we don't print our hours outside, but, it's kind of who we are.
When you were opening the Bovine, the very beginning, could you imagine that it was going to be open and successful after 20 years?
No.
Was it even like a dream? Or was it just like, this will last a couple months, maybe a couple years, and then we'll be off to do something else?
Well, one of the other, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, we had another club going. I spent all of my time in college and high school working in clubs and bars. So even though I graduated from university twice, every Friday and Saturday night I was working in a bar or going to shows. So it was always in my blood. And when I started working with Wesley, we were installing sound and lights in clubs. So I never really got away from it. And, we knew what the attrition was for new bars and restaurants and clubs. So, if you can imagine telling your audience this, most bars and restaurants close. 80% of them close after the first year, and 90% are closed at the end of the second year. So that's how quickly places open and close in this business. So to imagine we'd be open for 5 years was also impossible. So 20 years is pretty funny and fun.
Speaking of the fun, for the 20th anniversary celebration, there's a lot of shows going on for the next month.
Correct.
Are there any that you're particularly looking forward to?
All of them. That was politically correct.
That was politically correct.
You know what? We tried to pick the shows by grabbing people, going back in time for some shows, like the Asexuals are playing with Stark Naked in the Flesh Tones and the Ugly and Groovy Religion. And those are really old school bands that were around, as the Bovine was opening. Some may have just broken up around then, but, they were customers right from the start. And then, midway through, or when we started the live music program on a full-time basis, there are bands like the Sinisters, which have just reformed. You need to be at that show. And, we tried to bring back and convince some bands that hadn't played for a while to put it together, and everybody was really enthusiastic. It's a big enough deal for them to sort of practice for 6 weeks and get on stage again. So, those are particularly important shows for me because it's old school. But, having the Flatliners and St. Alvia and the Video Dead and Barn Burner and Monster Truck and whoever else is playing that's more of a, our current repertoire of bands, it's just as important. So we tried to reach out both ways. And we tried to, grab our business partners like Dine Alone Records or Jägermeister and get them involved, or Molson. Everybody needs to sort of have their weekend or their night here and invite all their friends. It's going to be fun. And even on March 3rd, we're having a staff alumni night. So if anyone's seen this and you ever worked for me here before, that's your night to come down and be treated like a king. And Kevin Lyman's coming from the Warped Tour. He's kicking it off with me. That when Lollapalooza was down at the C&E in the old days before it moved up to Molson Park. So I'm talking early 90s for all of you people that were born in the late 90s. Kevin was running the production for Lollapalooza, and he drifted by here. I guess he was here the day before, putting the show together, and fell in love with the Bovine. So we've always had an intimate relationship, in so much as when they finish their shows in Toronto, whether it's at Molson Park or at Arrow Hall, the Bovine brings up a truck with a tent, some tables, some ice, some beer, some liquor, some bartenders, and some bus people, and we set up a party after the Warped Tour every year for all of the staff that work there and all of the bands. And Kevin and I sort of co-hosted every year. So I decided to make Kevin the co-host for the launch on February 12th with St. Alvia.